Welcome into another episode of the Nest ATL podcast. We've got a very special guest this afternoon. He is Georgia's all-time leading wide receiver. His name is Terrance Edwards. And before we introduce Terrance, we got to give a special shout out to our sponsor. That is Hometown Mortgage. Now is a great time to buy a home, especially in the Atlanta market. Go ahead and give them a call anytime. They're up in Alpharetta. Their address 199 Academy Street, Alpharetta 30009. Give them a call, 770-634-2531. Now, again, Terrance Edwards, he doesn't need any introduction at this point. All Dogs fans know him very well. Terrance, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. We got spring practice coming up. Terrance is a coach over there at Mount Vernon. How are the kids looking over there right now?
So far, so good. We've been 8 weeks into our winter workouts, and the kids been working hard. And that was just one part of the program going into year three that I was just really looking to excel in. And the kids have taken, the bull by the horn and took this piece of coaching to put us in the level of some of the teams that we haven't beat in my first 2 years because of the weight room. So the kids have really uh, taken and been accountable and showing up. And now they got to translate onto the field starting May 4th.
Absolutely. Coach Edwards has got the protein shakes galore up there at Mount Vernon. Now, let's talk some dogs right now. So, going into this upcoming season, there's a lot of expectations. The Dogs made it back to the SEC Championship once again with a pretty fairly young team, I would say. Gunnar Stockton's first official year as the starting quarterback. So, you, as a former Dog, what are your thoughts on what Georgia is going to look like this upcoming season?
If you just continue to listen to Kirby speak, especially about the offense, he's looking for more explosive plays. And I think that's one thing that we lacked last year was just being able to throw the football down the field. And I'm not one of those guys that think we have to throw it 40 yards downfield to make explosive plays. I'm looking for being able to throw the intermediate passes, 12 to 15 yards down the field, and having guys make a guy miss or just break tackles or maybe to just run after catch and get explosive play, which is 20 yards or more. So I'm just ready to see us being able to throw the ball down the field at a high rate than we did last year.
Yeah, and a big reason for why that could definitely be the case this year is I think the wide receiver group. I think last year there were some guys that were either redshirted or, coming in, that type of deal. Are there any guys that sort of catching your eye right now? Some of these young cats that haven't really seen the field yet that might see their role expanded in 2026?
Yes, I got three guys that I'm looking forward to see. Of course, CJ Wiley is one. Tylen Taylor is the other one, and Shakovi White. I'm ready to see him take the role from Zachariah Branch and see what he's able to do now with the opportunity to have more playing time. I think Jacoby is very similar to Zachariah. He could be a screen guy. I know we like to get the balls in receivers' hands fairly quickly and make them make guys miss. So those are the three guys that I'm excited to see. That was kind of there already, especially of course Isaiah Kane, the transfer, but those three are the guys that I'm looking to see take that next step.
Is there any guy out of that group that you look at and say, Georgia fans, like this guy's probably going to pop off this year?
I'm gonna go with Shakovi. I mean, everybody know how I feel about CJ because I've trained him, coached him. I think Talon Taylor is special and has the ability to catch the ball on all three levels. That's screen, that's intermediate, and down the field. But I think Shakovi's going to be able to work the middle of the field. He's going to be able to hit some of those bubbles that we threw and just RPOs that we threw to Zachariah Branch. And now it's his turn to take some of those behind the line of scrimmage and be able to average 8 to 10 yards like we did last year on RPO and bubble games. So I'm excited to see Sokovia have an opportunity to showcase his talent this year.
Yeah, no doubt. And we see that pillow right behind you. We obviously know that you played for the Atlanta Falcons very briefly, but the Georgia Bulldogs had their pro day, and the Falcons had a very, very heavy presence there. Matt Ryan, Ian Cunningham, and new head coach Kevin Stefanski, their whole contingency there to check out what the Dogs had to offer over there. Is there any guy you see in that group that is coming out in this draft class that you think the Falcons maybe should have their eye on?
Ooh, Mauro Freeland, I think they could definitely use some help on the offensive line, being able to protect your two quarterbacks who's been often injured throughout their brief NFL career. So uh, you always, in my opinion, you always kind of start your team from the two offense and defensive line. And Mauro Freeland is a guy I think is I don't know what pick the Falcons have, but he's a guy that I would definitely look to if I was the Falcons taking in the first round.
Cool. I think that's I mean, hey, you can always need offensive linemen. I think you build from the trenches for sure. Now, taking things back to your career, you are Georgia's all-time leading receiver, and Georgia has had quite a few good ones, and you are at the top of that list. Can you take us back to your time at Georgia? It was a really interesting time. You got really the beginning of Mark Richt's era. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you had Kirby Smart as just fresh out of college as an assistant head coach. What was that time like back then?
So I was there. Kirby had left. So I was there my first 2 years with Jim Dunning and my last two with Coach Rick. And I think either the year I left or 2 years later, that's when Kirby came to be the running backs coach. But I did have Mike Bobo there as the quarterback coach. Then he got named the OC in title. Um, so I had him, and I've been knowing both of those guys because of my brother and me being around the program since I was in seventh grade. So I've known, those guys from their early adulthood to now to being the people who they are. So didn't get opportunity to get coached by Kirby, but just watching him, being around him as a player and as a coach, he was destined for this greatness.
Now you also played with some pretty good quarterbacks in your time. It was, if I'm not mistaken, was it Quincy Carter, David Green? Was that your era?
Yeah, so I played with Quincy Carter, David Green, and DJ Shockley.
Gotcha. Okay, I know Shock very well, obviously, but what's the biggest pro differences between all three of those guys? Because all three obviously brought a lot to the table. Quincy Carter, we know what he did going on to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, David Green winning his college quarterback at that time, and Shock going on to win an SEC championship of his own in 2005. What was something about all three of them that kind of made them unique?
All three is very different. Quincy was more of the outspoken, kind of in your face type guy, holding you accountable. David was the more calm, cool, and collected. Uh, then DJ was just talented, just arm strength. I would consider him having the strongest arm out of the three. Uh, the ability to run with the football, Quincy did as well. So all three different personalities. But I caught touchdowns from all three. So those are, as T.O. So that those are my quarterbacks.
Absolutely. And that was a really interesting time for Georgia. Like you had said, going off of the Donnan era, going into Mark Richt's era, which I would argue kind of really set the tone for what Georgia football is today. Kirby Smart picking up that mantelpiece that Coach Richt left behind, some SEC championships, oh so close to some national championships there. But would you agree that kind of that early era of Mark Richt sort of set the tone for this current era of Georgia football?
Oh, for sure. My 2002 season with the rest of my senior class kind of, started and broke the wall, you would say, of SEC championships in 2002, and that was our first one in 20 years. Uh, and the sustained excellence that Coach Rick held the program for 15 years. And I think people forget if Coach Rick had the rules of today of how many playoff appearances that we've been in, especially 2002. I think I saw Rusty or somebody put this up of which team would have had the better
It was
chance.
on this
You
podcast.
know, yeah. So it was. I mean, you just think about 2002, 2007, and it was a couple more than that. I know the '92 team with Garrison and Eric was on there, but we're gonna have some teams, especially in Coach Rick 15 seasons. I would say 4 or 5 would have had opportunity to get into the playoff, even the 14 playoff, and definitely be in the 12-team playoff. So just imagine how many championships we probably could have had opportunity to compete for if the same rules were in place with him. I think the 2002 team being 13-1 was, I think, one of the better teams. I think could be biased, but that's my team. But we got hot and beat the teams that we need to beat at the right time. And at the end of the season, I wish we'd had the opportunity to go play Miami or Ohio State, who was in the national championship game. So Coach Rick definitely sustained the excellence, and now Kirby just taking over the top. He's been able to uh, continue what Coach Rick has done, and even made it. Uh, he even have pushed it over the top with the excellent job he's done so far, and he's going to continue to do because the culture that he's set so far at Georgia. And I think that's just beat all the other variables that's out there in college football right now, just to sustain excellence. And if you want to be coached, you come to Georgia. And like a lot of players say, Georgia's not for everyone.
Not for everybody, but it's definitely for people who look for NFL players and NFL talent. I think that is goes without a doubt. Now, again, going back to 2002, can you sort of walk me through what, or maybe there was a certain point rather that you guys sort of all understood that, man, this is a special team. We got something good going right here.
That team was led by the our class of 1998 with myself, John Stinchcomb, Tony Gilbert, George Foster. So that team was led by those group of seniors, and just that year of workouts, it just was different. I think it was Coach Rick's second year, and now we've really kind of all understood the expectations that he set on us. And we had a bunch of guys that believed in each other and was ready to, put Georgia back on the map. And we really had a good team that year, and kind of the turning point was I think at the beginning of the season when we played Clemson and we was down a little bit, and we ended up winning. And each week we just got better and better and better. And even the Florida game that we lost, we still had an opportunity to win that game. And you could see the team didn't get down on ourselves. Yes, we lost, and we all contributed to that loss, especially me and others. But the next week we come back and beat Eli Manning, Ole Miss, and then I get hurt. Damian Gary gets hurt. Then Michael Johnson steps up in the Auburn game with 13 catches and the game winner. Fred was hurt that game. So we had a lot of reasons to quit, but that team didn't. Then John, gave this most passionate speech at halftime against Auburn that just sent us over the top, and we weren't going to be denied. And after that game, man, the team just took off. And we beat Georgia Tech 51-7, I think it was that year. And that was a great season. We had every reason to quit, and with Coach Rick's leadership, we didn't.
Absolutely. That was a very special team. Now, you mentioned some, or rather, a player that you played against, Eli Manning. Was there a player that you went up against, maybe a defensive back, a defensive player at that time that maybe you played at that point that were like, man, this dude's a dog?
Man, that was a couple. And this one name always pops out when someone asks me about the best player. And Lito Shepherd from Florida was just crazy. Man, he was so good, being able to cover. And I can remember because this clip got sent around in my group chat when he caught an interception and he just made everyone miss, and he returned it, and everybody kept their head on the swivel because Florida players was crackbacking on us. But Lito Shepherd was really, really good.
Lito Shepherd. All right, I have to check out some of those highlights. And I'm sure this is a question you've been asked multiple times, but it's worth asking, seeing how you are, like I said, Georgia's all-time leading wide receiver. If you had to rank Georgia's all-time top five wide receivers, and again, feel free to put yourself at number one. You have a pretty good argument, but how would you rank that?
So I've done this several times on my social media platforms, and by far number one is easy. Is the other number eight? I'm the original number eight, but AJ Green is definitely the best to come through Georgia. I don't think it's close with anyone else. Then I go back and forth with people by just talent. I think George Pickens was the next most talented receiver to come through Georgia. Then I always put myself third because I have all the stats, I have all the yards, only 1,000-yard receiver. So I'll put myself third. Uh, but we have so many, man. I mean, people forget about Andre Hastings, how good Andre Hastings was. Uh, I put Hines up there, but I just consider Hines, who's like everybody knows, like a brother to me. I just put him in a category all by himself because he's just a football player. Him as a football player is just bar none. Fred Gibson is another one that I put up there. Lad McConkey is another one that's would be in my top five. But we have so many. I mean, everybody always talks about the lack of production for its numbers. But man, I take Tavares King, Mohamed Massaquoi, Reggie Brown. The list goes on, and those guys had stints in the NFL. And I mean, A.D. Mitchell, I still consider him a dog, even though he left. Georgia have done a great job evaluating talent, even though we haven't had the 1,000-yard receivers. But that hasn't, you know, that 1,000-yard receiver haven't helped us or hurt us as far as present day time of making it to the playoff and winning games.
Absolutely. There's been quite a few good ones over there in Athens. Now, going back to your stint with the Falcons, again, wasn't too long, but you were there. You were in Flowery Branch. What was it like to be a part of that organization for when you were there? And did you get to catch passes from Michael Vick?
I did. I was there with Mike. My rookie year was the year that he broke his leg in the preseason game against Baltimore, I think it was. And the head coach was Dan Reeves, first year. So that was super special to get to know him. I've watched him my whole life, coaching the Falcons, being a player. He's from Americus, Georgia. Then my second year, the year I got hurt, was he's the UConn head coach right now,
Jim Moore.
Jim Moore Jr. So two different styles. I still talk to a lot of the guys, even though I wasn't there very long, year and a half, two. Pierce Price is one I still talk to often. Algie Crumpler is another one that I talk to often. Warwick Dunn is another one that I talk to often. Um, so there's still a lot of guys from that team that took well to me for my short period of time there that I still talk to this day, 20 years later. It was a dream come true. Something that I've wanted to do and thought about doing my whole life. I actually played professional football and 2 years there, then played 9 years in the Canadian Football League. So my dream that I had as a kid of playing professional sports was lived, and I don't have any regrets of how it went at all.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very rare mantelpiece you can brag about forever. And this is something I've actually spoken about a little bit with Shock. Now, the game has changed so much in the last, 20, 25 years, even 15 years. And I've spoken to him a lot about, you know, back when he was drafted in 2006 and he, was a low draft pick at that time. And I've always said, Shock, man, like, if you were coming out today, I feel like you'd have a strong argument to be a first round pick. Yet you were a late round pick at that time. You yourself, a guy who went in the later, was it, were you undrafted or were you later round?
Undrafted, undrafted.
Undrafted. Now, I feel like in today's standards, if you're looking at it from a microscope of you see a Georgia wide receiver who's got all these records, who is the guy. Do you think it would have been different now coming out, being a higher round guy, higher rated guy in the NFL draft?
I think so, especially for Shock. Uh, with his ability to run the football and throw the football is dual threat wasn't a thing kind of coming out when Shock was a quarterback. Now with the way the game is played with the RPO game, the zone read game, with the quarterback being a part of the running game, um, that's something that he could do and he could do it well. And what people don't know, if I was coming out today, I was a quarterback in high school, so I didn't play receiver until I got to Georgia. So I was a all-state quarterback. Got offers by schools to play quarterback, and just at that time, coming out of high school, I was 6 feet, 165 pounds, and that was just unheard of. I mean, people just really preyed on measurables. So I wanted to play professional sports. I was athletic. I can run. Um, just never played receiver, but I could catch. And knowing that I was only 4 years in playing receiver and left as an all-time leading receiver, it's crazy. Um, but today, it could have been different. But I don't regret the way it went. I think uh, God had a plan for me, and that plan has led me to have the experience that I've had throughout my professional career, my high school career, my college career. Now I give back and share to these kids who have the same dream. So if I would have been the guy like I was at Georgia and played for 6, 7, 8, 10 years and made the money, I don't know what I've been doing. I had a passion for it to coach. But I just don't know. So he took me a different route because he had a bigger picture for me. And I love what I do. So I'm glad the route that I went. I'm glad how my life has turned out. My life is pretty dang good.
Seems like it worked out for the best. But I will say right here on this podcast, if it was right now, Terrance Edwards would definitely be a first, at least a second round selection in the NFL draft. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Now, again, I
I
just
would take,
mentioned
I
it.
would take
There we
it.
go. Now, I just mentioned it. Michael Vick, he had that leg injury when you got there, but just the aura and just the celebrity status that Michael Vick has really still in this city. Do you have any cool stories of kind of being just in the same locker room, the same room as that guy during that peak era of when he was just the king of Atlanta, basically?
So the best story that I tell uh, about Mike was I believe just if you go out and just throw the football with t-shirts and shorts on, Mike is up there with the best of them with arm talent. The philosophy, um, man, he could just rip it with that left hand. And watching Mike on TV the prior year and just how he ripped it up, and now you sharing the locker room with a guy who's just a rock star. And I asked him one day, like, Mike, how's your Air Force One so clean? He's like, I just got a million of them. I just get them out the box every day. So he would they look like they just came out the box. So if he had a little scuff on his Air Force Ones, he in his Nike contract, he had so many pair of Air Force Ones, he just get a new pair at the box and wouldn't string them up or anything, just wearing how they came out the box, and they would just look fresh every day. Man, how do you keep your shoes so clean? I just get a new pair at the box. So he wore brand new Air Force Ones all the time.
Yeah, I believe it. Those are still to this day some pretty cool shoes. I think they stand the test of time. Now, last couple questions I got for you, kind of related to the fashion sense there. So you kind of streamlined this pretty well. The Atlanta Falcons got some new uniforms yesterday. Want to hear your thoughts on them, but before we do that, I was curious. Georgia has stayed pretty relatively monotone when it comes to their uniforms, at least in the last 20 years or so. There's been teases of white helmets. There's been teases of, bringing back the black uniforms. And obviously, early years rather, at Georgia, they had a little bit of a different uniform set with sort of that black stripe in the middle of the helmet. Do you have any favorite Georgia uniforms that aren't just the regular, the red, silver breeches?
Wow. I can remember it's probably 99. I think we wore all white pants. I can remember wearing them up in Neyland Stadium in 99 against Tennessee. Um, I prefer not to have the black stripe going down. Uh, I love the silver breeches, but I also looking at some old Herschel highlights recently and the red pants that they used to wear.
Love them.
Uh, I can remember one year when we kind of had the metallic helmets. I think that was Coach Rick later years. But I just love the silver breeches and the tradition that we have. Yes, I would like to every now and then, but there's nothing like those silver breeches. We could do some jersey switch ups, but I love the silver breeches.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't brought back the red pants. I remember they wore them one time. I think it was like 2020 when Stetson was the quarterback
Yes.
against Arkansas. But I really do love those red pants. Those are pretty solid. Yeah, Terrence, that's all the questions I got for you, man. I really do appreciate you coming on once again. The Nest ATL podcast. Please leave us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast. We've got it live on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. Terrence Edwards, Georgia's all-time leading receiver. Thank you once again for coming on.
No problem. Go Dogs.